You can see the streaks of resin. It's incredible how much resin is in this wood. And it's all going right into the grinder so we can make oil out of it. It's a huge gamble that we've undertaken. Look at the resin. Look how black and how crystallized these resins are. It's incredible. If you could only smell the air, look how black that is. These people at the distillery, they think we're crazy people. And in fact, that's exactly what we are. We're just crazy about amazing quality oud oil.
Hi everybody, welcome to another video. I'm with Ensar today. This is going to be a really special video. We've got a huge selection of different oud oils, and Ensar number 1 and Ensar number 2, and yeah, Ensar's going to really guide us through this. It's going to be awesome. So you're going to be a little bit of a fly on the wall. I'm not going to pay too much attention because I want to really feel the oud. I don't want to miss out on the experience of smelling these, so you'll kind of join in on this kind of intimate kind of, yeah, it's gonna be cool. So enjoy, cheers.
All right, so where should we start?
EO number 2 and EO number 1 first, because
sure.
I have those on my hand already. So these are new to me, and EO number 1 is on this arm at the moment. And I would actually quite like you to describe how you feel it comes across, because I mean I get the rose and there's a little bit of spice in the opening for me, and it's very, very smooth, but it's actually quite difficult for me to describe. So how would you kind of put that across?
Well, I mean the concept is basically leather and oud and ambergris and tobacco.
Perfectly blended.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful.
Tink you very much.
It's very smooth.
The concept behind the EO number 1 and the ambergris is that basically what I wanted to do, and this is a reformulation, it's not the first formula that I officially released as an EDP. This is a pure parfum that I did after the production of EO number 2, which was based in musk tincture. So basically what you have here, and I mean, when I explain to you what exactly I did here, you're probably going to wonder how can I even sell it for money? I mean, there is no carrier in there other than like pure ambergris tincture, and the concentration is 10.75%. So if you can just run, I mean, that concept, I mean, through, it's like, there's no alcohol, right? The entire contents of that vial is just, everything's based in pure ambergris, and it's such a concentration that it's unprecedented in perfumery, I think.
Wow.
I don't think anybody's ever used over 10%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
On my other hand, I've got EO number 2, which is the newer fragrance based around Siberian deer musk.
Yes.
And this again is, I was saying earlier that it's very well balanced, and I was expecting it to be quite animalic and kind of raw, where it might be a little bit daring to wear, you know? And I don't get that at all. It's actually, the musky part of it is very more sensual and soft, but without being
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was expecting something dirtier, to be honest, but it's not. It's very smooth, and you get hints of the florals. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of that?
I mean, personally, I can't do I can't do extremes in fragrance. To me, it has to be a perfect balance of notes that is like just very, very precisely orchestrated. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work. So anything that goes off or like veers off into a direction of, let's say, you know, like a stroll through the zoo or anything like that, it's not going to be my cup of tea, really. It has to be a perfect orchestration of perfect balance. And the musk is not, I mean, to me, it's not something that you're supposed to smell by itself, you know, by itself. It doesn't work like that.
Of it.
Musk is like a transmutation of other notes, and it's this turning them into this miraculously velvety and beautiful, and it's almost like it's like alchemy is what musk does in a smell. It's like it turns everything to gold, and you can pick that up. It's like, well, how did this rose become so, you know, elegant and so ethereal and so well integrated in with the other components of the smell? It's the musk that's doing the talking. If you smell musk on its own, what you're going to get is most commonly a musk chemical. I mean, it's not going to be deer musk. If you smell deer musk, I've smelled a lot of deer musk, and I've handled it to the point where I almost had to gag, and I was like, I had to almost like call for help when I was working with like a lot of musk pouches, and it was like, wow.
Very raw and so on.
Almost fainted.
Wow.
I almost fainted. It's like a pure animal game. Like after a hunt, you smell like the body of the animal, and it's like all like covered in urine. Yeah, like the authentic musk experience is basically urine.
Wow.
I mean, I don't like to fake things. I
mean, that doesn't come across in the perfume.
It doesn't.
Luckily.
It doesn't, but I mean, I don't want to, let me be just really blunt about it, I don't want to BS you or anybody. Like, musk, yeah, it smells like musk, and I went to the zoo and it's like the animal and all that. That's all fake. It's not what musk smells like. And I wish I had some with me, only because of the regulations of, you know, traveling with it into the UK. I kind of like,
I can imagine.
take precautions and, you know, avoid doing that. But musk is only a transformative element in a perfume. You're not going to smell musk per se unless I just put musk in ethanol. And then what you're going to smell is the body of an animal and the urine of an animal. That's it. Because the deer actually urinates over the pouch that is housing the musk, and that's how it distributes it in the wild, so that the females can pick up the smell. It's actually distributed by the urine of the deer. So the urine goes right over the pouch, and then it spreads the musk grains in, you know, in the bushes and wherever he's leaving that genetic DNA for them to identify.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm glad it doesn't smell like that.
No.
It's very beautiful. It's very smooth.
I mean, it's musky, and like musk is basically, it's like you know how they say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Musk is pretty much as abstract a feature and a phenomenon in perfume as the concept of beauty. I mean, musk is to you something other than what it is to me, other than what it is to him, other than what it is to every single perfumer that has ever worked with musk, basically, because it all depends on what you choose to pair it with. So if you look at something like Musk Ravageur by Frederic Malle, for example, I'm sure you've smelt it.
To me, it smells like a urinal. Like it has there's a lot of vanilla, but there's something that smells like a public urinal in it, like urine, stale urine.
Yeah, that's musk. To me, it just smells like food. You know, like the Musk Ravageur. You know, and you know, I'm not trying to put it down. I think it's a great smell. But it smells very culinary. Like you've got vanilla, you've got all these edible spices, you got these like gingerbread elements, cakey kind of, you know. So it's like it's a very you know, gustatory experience rather than this animalic, you know, urinary, bestial, zoo existence, which is what people are expecting in a musk perfume, and that's not what musk is. It's not what musk is at all.
It's good. It reminds me of, I'm just thinking of like the words that come to mind when I smell it, and it might sound a little bit strange, but it kind of visualises a satin sheet.
Yes.
Do you get kind of,
Exactly.
do you know where I'm coming
Yes.
from?
Velvet.
Yeah.
Like, you know, something
It
like
has that kind of
Yeah.
texture. Like I view perfumes and smells in texture a lot of the time, and that's the texture of
Musk.
yeah. It's very nice. Shall we delve into some oud oils?
Let's go. So one thing I wanted you to smell, and I immediately, this is something that I thought of when I heard of your love for the Shang Lao Ling or Maroke oil, which is now no longer available. I have a new Sultan oil called Oud Salahuddin, Sultan Salahuddin, and I'd just like to see what you think of that. It's just
Cool.
I want to see if any. You want to put it on?
I can smell the dabber actually, because
Sure.
we'll probably run out of skin room very quickly. Oh wow, okay. Similar profile, you have the dark, sandy earthiness,
Yes.
complex. It reminds me, I think the best word to describe how I feel, like, you know, petrichor, the smell of the dust in the air before a storm.
Exactly.
It reminds me of that. That's really nice. I like that a lot.
I thought you would. That's what I thought. Like if I get someone looking for a Maroke, I would say just Sultan Salahuddin is the oil.
And it's slightly spiced and maybe even a little bit incensey. It's complex, but yeah, it's gorgeous. I think that's probably so far, like whatever. I mean, I don't have huge experience with oud, but that seems to be my favorite characteristic so far of what I found that I really gravitate towards that kind of profile. I can't even explain what it is about it that I love so much, but it's just it's like calming.
It resonates with you.
Well, I'll be honest, like I work offshore for like a month or two at a time, and it's not somewhere really you can delve too much taking perfume, but I took your oud samples with me last time I went, and I find myself sneaking off and just smelling a little bit and putting it back, and people are like wondering, what's this kid doing? Because it gets addicting.
Yeah,
it's really addictive.
Yeah.
And especially profiles like that, I could smell if I could have a bath in that and just smell like that all the time. You know. And I found at the end of my shift, when I finished working, before I go to bed, I would just smell it and close my eyes, and it does something to your brain that's like, it feels like Zen or something.
Yeah.
Like it's very. I don't get that from any other oil, I'll be honest. Like I feel like oud, I'm amazed, like when I first experienced the different profiles, I couldn't believe how different they are from one to another, whereas I don't know of any other oil from any other natural source that has such a huge library of possibilities, and I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
That you can have so much from a tree. It's quite incredible.
That's what we've all been through. It's like when I first started with oud, I used to wake up in the middle of the night, go to my little corner room where I had all my oils, sniff it, and then go back to sleep. It was insane. I mean, it's like totally like, you know, captive to this aroma.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
It's
Again,
definitely addicting.
If you want to apply any of these, please be my guest. I mean, you can try them on the skin if you want.
Yeah, if you put a little bit there, because I really do like them.
So that's
It's
Sultan
beautiful.
Salahuddin. What else should I show you that's going to reverberate along those lines? I have a new oil, which is actually, this is going to be quite costly, but this is a private distillation. I'm not releasing it publicly. This is the Royal Maluku. It's an Oricent brand, meaning it's my older one. Parameters. It's newer, but I've followed exactly the same parameters that we used to follow back in 2004, 2005 to craft the smell. Now I'd like to see what you think of that. There you go.
We don't want to run out of skin room, so.
Sure.
Wow. Okay. So this one's a little bit sweeter. It still has a little bit of a. I still get a little bit of the petrichor vibe, but it's sweeter and maybe a little bit more floral-like.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of elements of another one that I've smelled in your distillations. Maybe even a little bit of Yusuf, just a hint of that kind of that element of that same sweet
Fruitiness.
But I really like it. It's very smooth. I feel like people that haven't smelled oud, and like my interpretation of what oud was before I smelled the real, I feel like people just decide, oh, I don't like oud because they smell these synthetic oud fragrances that are very obnoxious and loud and they don't smell good to me.
Yeah.
And people have this bad idea of what they think oud is, and they think it's dirty and animalic and all these bad connotations, and then you smell something like this and you give that to someone that they probably wouldn't guess that it's oud because it doesn't smell how you would people in the mainstream picture what oud is, you know?
What they'll say is like, what is that? Like,
I mean, you can wear that as a perfume.
Oh yeah.
And it's complex enough on its own to actually not even put any other oils with it. If you wanted to just stab straight on, and it smells beautiful.
Personally, I think blending that with any other thing would be a crime.
I mean, yeah. It's very beautiful. How would you describe the nuances of that yourself? I'm
This
interested
one?
how you would...
Well, to me, this is... I would describe it, you know, by relating it to the Indo-Chinese region. Mm-hmm. Like this is a very small island in the Maluku archipelago known as Seram.
Okay.
So the wood was harvested actually in 1997, and we're selling the chips now currently from the same harvest as this. And it's fantastic wood. You know, I wish I had some with me so I could show you. But if you tune in onto the profile as that wood unfolds on the burner, it has unmistakable Indo-Chinese and specifically Vietnamese characteristics. So I've showed it to people that have an affinity for Vietnamese oud because that is traditionally the most sought after incense-wise, you know, from the school of Kodo in Japan. And immediately they said that smells Indo-Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah. Now to move on to another region which is similar to the Maluku and the Sumbawa that I showed you. This is a co-distillation of Brunei and New Guinea Agarwood. This is Sultan Mustafa.
Okay. Sounds...
It's quite. It's one of my top oils according to everyone who smelled it. The only caveat is that they've smelled the copper batch, whereas this is the steel.
Okay.
So this is more, it's more unknown generally, but it's exactly the same materials. So I'll give you that, and you see if you want to swipe that on.
Wow, I love that one.
Yeah, it's quite something.
That's very, very smooth. And again, it has that earthiness that I like.
Mm-hmm.
It's like petrichor, incensey, but extremely smooth. This is like velvety, like smoothness in the character of it.
It's like a cosmic, you know, aroma. Like it just catapults you into the.
This one smells expensive. Like to me,
it is very expensive. Now, one thing we're doing, Peter, is that we're offering our guests a cup of medicinal Chinese coffee, or tea if you prefer, with either a pellet of Vietnamese Kiara inside, or a touch of the Nha Trang LTD, which is my top oil.
Really?
So I let you, you know, call the shots, you know, if you want to try any of those.
Wow. Yes, please.
So we'll do a cup of coffee with. If you want something more, you know, palpable, I would do the Nha Trang.
Okay.
And if you want something more subtle, that where you just feel the numbness afterwards, I would do the Kinam. You would feel the Kinam a lot more if we put a lot more Kinam, but unfortunately the.
I'd imagine it's extremely expensive.
Vietnamese Kinam is like $1,400–1,500 a gram now in the retail market. You know, even Shoyedo, like 1 gram, it goes for $1,590 per gram.
Wow.
Yeah, on their website. So we have some extremely rare Vietnamese Kinam here that even if, you know, we don't end up drinking that one, I'll put the same exact amount on the Kiara heater here for you to smell, and then you can experience that and see what you think.
Sure. Oh, that's
Okay,
amazing.
so let's do that.
Thank you very
You're
much.
very welcome.
Cheers. Thank you.
It's not in there yet. This is the Nha Trang Ltd. I'll let you smell it first
Cool.
before you taste it. So here's the applicator. What do you think of that?
Beautiful. Very nice. This one's slightly sweeter as well, like the sweet kind of florally kind of character.
This would be the epitome of Vietnamese Agarwood, which is the one that I mentioned in passing when we were talking about the Maluku,
Okay.
Royal Maluku. I said it has like overtones of a Vietnamese profile. This would be like the hallmark Vietnamese, classic, wild Vietnamese profile.
How would you distinguish, I'm curious because obviously I don't have this kind of knowledge, but how would you distinguish, say, a Thai oud to a Vietnamese oud in profile?
I mean, the Thai is going to be a lot more fruity. It's going to be a lot more playful.
Mm.
The Vietnamese is going to be more austere, bitter, medicinal.
Okay.
Yeah, like Thai oud. I mean, the hallmark Thai oud. Obviously, this is plantation, but still, it's. I mean, it's a good representation of that. Would be Oud Yusuf.
Mm.
I mean, that's like the classic Thai profile. Even if you compare it to other like wild Thais that we've done, it has the DNA of a you know, classic Thai krasna tree. The Nha Trang Ltd, because these trees, they grow in Kinam territory where Kiara was traditionally found, is going to have pretty much the same exact profile as a fine pellet of green oil Kiara on the low heat Kiara burner, which we're about to try now. I'll let you smell the oil first.
It's beautiful.
Please be my guest if you want to swipe it.
We'll save it to the end because there's like so many to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you are, and I'll give you a dab of that.
Tasting oud.
Tasting oud. I mean, I think you'll be in a different mental space just in about a second.
Wow.
That has just become an $80 cup of tea.
That was crazy. I'm a little bit scared.
Don't be scared.
Wow. Taste it straight away. That's amazing.
In China, they drink this for like heart disease and like.
It tastes how it smells.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't
One of the few
I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. Wow. And it's got the aftertaste on your tongue. When you swallow the tea, you can still.
Oh yeah. I mean, now you're drinking Chinese
I can
medicine.
feel it on my lips. Wow. I don't even know how to describe that. It's that's something. Wow. You can. I'm just amazed that such a tiny little made such a huge.
Yeah, and most of it didn't even go into the tea because it's oil, so it won't like readily mix with the water there, so it sticks to the applicator.
I mean, it's all over.
And aesthetic, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's wow. That's very cool. I like that.
Will
That's
you
an
be able to
expensive
finish
hobby, though.
Will you be able to finish the cup?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a little bit hot though.
No, take your time. So why don't we try the Kiara now and see what you think of the smell of that in relation to the drink.
can still taste it. It stays in your, around your lips and your tongue. It's,
The day will be a very different day for you today.
it's like you can feel your tongue buzzing a little bit.
Yeah. You won't feel the same.
In fact, I think my lips are going a little numb.
Yeah.
It's an interesting feeling.
Green oil Vietnamese Chiara. You can take a whiff. That's literally the most expensive smell on earth.
It's subtle, but yeah.
Need to inhale it immediately.
It's subtle, it's soft, it's not like an overpowering scent. It's
It
very
takes
mellow.
a very long time
Yeah.
for it to come out because the heat is so slow, it's so gentle that you can't, it's not like putting it on a charcoal, for example, or high heat incense burner, then immediately you see the smoke. But it'll come. And this is how we do it. I mean, you know, in the Far East, when we're doing a Chiara session, the heater is always on and it's always running, and you just take like sporadic whiffs of it. Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm qualified to say how it smells though. Like how would you kind of characterize the...
It's like a green, medicinal, bitter profile. But I mean, that's just like, doesn't even scratch the surface of what it embodies. It's very rich, very aristocratic, dignified.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, it's the apex of anything olfactory in the history of olfaction. I mean, nothing has ever been as revered or as treasured as Vietnamese green oil Chiara. Not even deer musk.
Wow. Can you explain to me like what makes something that? Like how does that differentiate from a different piece of agarwood?
If you dissect it and you put a slice on the microscope, you'll see that the molecules are very different to normal agarwood.
Yeah.
It's so replete with resin and with the essential oil that it is saturated, and it contains more oil than resin.
Okay.
So it's basically very thickened agarwood oil that's been aged for, I don't know, maybe decades, maybe centuries at times.
Is it only from to be like labeled that particular? Does it have to be from a particular region or from a particular species of tree, or can it vary from
There are
just
as
the
many.
fact that it's this special kind of highly resonated?
I mean, there are as many opinions on that as there are schools of thought in agarwood. Like the Japanese would tell you that Chiara only comes from Vietnam,
Okay.
and perhaps certain parts of China and Cambodia, and nowhere else. If you speak to the Chinese, then they'll say that you can have Chiara from anywhere.
Okay.
Because
As long as it's
as long as the saturation of the oil is there and it has that mentholy green bitterness, it's Chiara. And we can try some right now, and you tell me what you think. I can put some Brunei Chiara on the other heater here.
Wow.
And then we can see how that goes.
Very cool.
So I'll take.
How would you describe the differences between the profile in terms of scent?
I would say the Brunei is blacker in tone. It doesn't smell as green, as minty to me as the Vietnam one. But other than that, I mean, to me they're quite
Similar.
similar. Yeah, they have the same overall richness, repleteness, and this aristocratic air and flair to them, which is what characterizes Kinam.
I think I might be wrong, but like the impression I get when I directly do compare them, this one is just ever so slightly sweeter, and I would say this one is a little bit, almost slightly more bitter
Yes.
in a darker way,
Yeah.
and that one's a little bit lighter. But I agree it's similar, but it's different, slight nuances.
I mean, that's to be expected. I mean, if we like, it's like comparing anything that grows in different regions. Like Bulgarian rose will be slightly different from, let's say, Thai rose from Saudi.
Yeah.
And those are just the regional differences that are normal, I think. But in terms of the overall experience, it's Kinam, to my nose, both of them. Dive into the oils.
Yes! There's so many.
Sure.
We will run out of time.
So let's see. I want you to smell something else that I've...
I love the colour of that one. It's like honey.
You want to try that one?
Just the colour alone is amazing.
This is the Chugoku Senko. Quite popular with the oud aficionados.
Just see, looking at it, I had preconceptions that it's going to smell a little bit fruity and floral and a bit more like a Thai kind of, like reminded me of Yusef just in the colour alone.
Right.
But this one is a little bit more, I would say kind of reminds me a little bit, do you know when you stroke a horse or a goat and you have that, the smell of the fur?
Yeah.
It reminds me of nuances of that in there, but in a smooth way. It's not like a huge barnyard kind of aroma, but an element more a little bit animal-like in a good way.
Right.
Like I don't know if that makes sense to you. Like.
Oh, perfectly. Yeah. It's inherent in the type of Agarwood. I mean, this is like the border of China and India.
Okay.
So it's like Chinese Agarwood. Even the slightest degree of fermentation, and you're going to get something like that effect.
Very smooth though.
Yeah, very prone to having these animalics emerge. There is a way to avoid distilling those notes, and that's what some of the upper end Oricent line exhibits. But this is more of a traditional.
I think the longer you smell it, that nuance kind of mellows out and becomes a lot smoother and.
Yeah, it's quite addictive if you apply it.
I like that one, but it's not what I expected with the colour. It's funny.
Why don't you compare it to this one? This is the Hainan 2005, the other region of China, and this one's been traditionally produced.
Okay. I like that. It's not too intense or too much for me. It's very nice. It's mellow. I'm not sure I know how to describe this one in words though. It has a little bit of the kind of the goat's hair kind of twang, but not in the same way as the last.
Well, it's a different region. I think that's the main.
I feel like the smell of the wood almost is more prominent.
In this one.
Yeah. Like I can imagine the texture of the wood, where it smells what you would say is woody.
Yeah.
But it's nice. I like that one. Very smooth. How would you describe that one?
To me, this one is more. Actually, if you apply it and you wait for the dry down, to me, it clearly has connotations of green Kinam. What we're smelling
really?
here.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you zone in and you smell deep into the fragrance, you get that green richness, repleteness of the bitter and very, very posh profile.
Yeah.
To me, it's palpably there. It doesn't help that I have Kinam wafting in my face.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's very. Again, it's very mellow. Like I feel you can wear all of these on their own.
Oh
like,
yeah. I mean that's
you don't even need to
blend them.
Yeah.
If you had to, it wouldn't be artisanal oud. I mean, to me, that's the defining characteristic and the differentiating factor between what I use in perfumes and what other people use in perfumes, and which is what I hear you'll be using in your perfumes, is artisanal oud, as opposed to just saying oud and real oud. Now there's this thing of like, we use real agarwood. Most people, what they use in their artisanal fragrances is what we know as boya agarwood. Basically, is you just take a white wood, you ferment it, and then you distill it, and then you get this boya oil. The problem is that you can get that from anything.
Okay.
Bulgarian cheese, I mean, has the same bacteria that cause the same smell in agarwood. I bet you if we were to ferment like, you know, peppers and tomatoes, we would get the same smell anyway. It's the lactic bacteria that we're smelling, it's not the agarwood. When you're smelling artisanal agarwood, you want to smell something like this.
Yeah.
A profile that is not, you know, met across other items, you know, like in cheese or in, you know, in dirty socks or things like this. It is, I mean, the bacteria is identical. Hence the shared profile. So, unless you can smell it, to go back to the original concept, unless you can smell it on its own, and it's a complete perfume with top, heart, and base notes. And it is, the fragrance journey is so engaging and so beautiful that you are happy just with it as it is. It's not artisanal oud.
Yeah.
I can show you oud that is just like, okay, it's like one smell. It's kind of like smelling lavender, for example, or cumin. It's like just one note, and then it just becomes weaker and weaker and weaker until you don't smell it anymore. To me, that's not artisanal oud. That's not what artisanal oud is all about.
Yeah. The same complexity.
Yes, it's about the whole experience of this fragrance journey of notes that are interwoven brilliantly, and they take you on this, you know, on this journey of scent, which is very fascinating and gratifying. If it's not gratifying, then it's not artisanal.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Well, it's an art, I suppose, as well.
Of course.
Just to distill them, even.
Have you ever smelled Sri Lankan oud? You might want to try that. This is like someone took your favorite Maroke and turned it into an aquatic
Yeah, I was gonna say this.
pond, you know, crystal clear lake.
It does have that kind of almost aqua. I see exactly what you mean when you said that.
Yeah.
And there's just a hint of a sweetness as well.
Like pea green mint, you know, like incense.
I really like that one. It's very rich.
That's the hallmark incense grade Wallapata oil, which is going to be like that. You know, Wallapata is unique to Sri Lanka in that it only grows in Sri Lanka. But the genus is not Aquilaria, so it's not the same tree that, for example, you find in Vietnam or India or even Borneo. So it's not a subspecies of Aquilaria, rather it is Gyronops. Gyronops is what we have on Papua Island.
Okay.
And in some of the Maluku Islands.
I think even someone that's not a fan of oud would enjoy that.
Oh yeah,
It's so smooth and...
I mean, you can say that about many ouds.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like, you know, like Oud Yusuf even, is like...
I feel like some people are a little bit scared to try, but something like that, I think anyone would think is beautiful.
Yeah. People wonder, like, what is that?
Yeah.
It's Agarwood. So there is that. And then...
I'm very curious on Borneo 50k. Can you try that one?
Yeah, sure, of course.
So,
This is Borneo 50k. That's the honey classic Malinao profile. We had a Borneo back in 2004 and 5. That was known as Borneo 3000.
okay.
To this day, it's probably the most talked about oud.
That is rich. How would you describe the characters of that one? I mean, I get a little bit of this, like a sweetness to this one. I struggle to put into words how
To me, it
these
has
oils
like a berried, like berries, you know, with a floral tonality, with like a slightly, very slightly green, but more yellow kind of mint.
You see them in colours as well.
Yeah,
Colours and
to me, the
textures.
colors are crucial to understanding the profile.
Okay.
Yeah, like once I had an oil that was known as a purple Papua. It just smelled purple to me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I get the same thing where I see things in colours and textures. And,
Yeah.
Again, that's very... Like if you just spread that around the general public, like no one would dislike that. I would be sure.
No one will say this is the skanky oud that everyone talks
it's
about.
very, very pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
When
smooth.
you apply it, you'll get tonalities of cinnamon and vanilla, and it kind
Yeah.
of starts out herbaceous, and then it just
Very
gradually-
complex.
Yeah, you gotta apply these because your body heat will.
But he's waiting for the.
I don't want to overdo myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a little bit. Can I put a little bit here?
You can put a lot there.
I know these are expensive, so I don't want to waste your oil.
You're
No,
a guest.
no,
You're a guest.
There's no wasting
You're
here.
welcome.
Thank you very much. I will be enjoying that for today.
Mhm.
I might let you squeeze that one because I'm a
Sure.
little bit scared of.
No problem.
Wow.
So that's Borneo 50K. Maybe I'll share with you a blast from the past, which is one of the most ancient and high grade Agarwood oils that we have. This is known as Oud Ahmed, and I just want to see what you make of it. I don't want to say anything.
Okay, sure. Thank you. I'm nervous now. I'd never smelled anything like that one. That's very unique.
Yeah.
All the oils that I've smelled from you so far, I think is maybe in the region of 30. I can't think of any one that reminds me of that one.
Nothing. It's a different tree, and even more importantly than that, the grade is totally different than what you find in even the best artisanal oils. I mean, this is sinking grade agarwood, something nobody would ever think to distill, because if you just put it on the burner like this, I mean, you have an incredible aroma.
I'm trying to think of words of what I'm picking here. If I had to describe a texture again,
Mm-hmm.
it's velvety.
Yes.
But there's something in it that's...
This one is more like verging on silk, I would say. It's like very
Silk maybe is the better word, actually.
Yeah. Very smooth, refined.
I was going to almost say like a hint of a dusty, powdery kind of slight quality, but maybe that's the wrong word.
The word to me is musky.
Musky.
It's like you took deer musk and you cook it inside the pot with the best agarwood, and I think you would get something like this.
I mean, it's incredibly, like you say, like a silky, satin, smooth.
Translucent quality.
But it
Very tobacco-y to me.
interesting.
I can
Okay.
smell like a flavored, like a cherry tobacco or something like this.
It's unique among the ouds that I've tried. Like I can't compare that. But it's very smooth and rich. I find all of these. I feel like almost smelling it like that, you can't really appreciate the complexity of it. I think that's something that you need to spend time with and feel it change. And
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. I mean, you can tell it's very good quality. And I'm not an oud expert, but it just smells rich.
Yeah.
You know.
Would you like to try some on the skin or later?
I would definitely like some later.
Okay.
If we smell a few more, I'll
Sure.
definitely take a swipe.
So we'll keep this here.
It's very smooth.
And then here I have a bottle that I miraculously found with my agent in London. We were completely sold out of this on the website. This is the Tigerwood 95, if you want to smell that.
I love that one too.
Even older than the Tigerwood Royale.
There's a softness to it, it's very mellow. But again, like all of these, you can wear them on their own. Like, when I smell it, I just think that's how you should smell. You know, without having it blended with rose and jasmine. It's just like, just smell like that and you would smell amazing.
Yeah.
But it's very, very likable. Like again, I think I just feel like people have the wrong impression of what oud is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even me, like a year ago, I wouldn't imagine that a nude could smell like that. I don't know how to put that in words to people that haven't experienced it, because it's something that you can't explain properly. That it's just.
It is. It's experiential. You have to experience.
And the more you smell, the more you want to smell, and it's fascinating to me. I just don't get this kind of experience with other oils.
There's no other aromatic that is quite like oud. And Wow, I want to know what you think of this.
Kinam Rouge.
I think this will work very, 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 very well in your chili pepper idea. If you can smell that.
Definitely.
That would take that like on steroids and just like catapult it out there.
Yeah, it does have a deep kind of spiced kind of aroma to it.
It's like
dark.
the redness of chili, that accord that you showed me,
Yeah.
is in there.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one.
We can talk about wholesale rates later.
I think it's a complex one.
That is, I think, the most replete and the most complex.
Is that, I'm presuming, is this from a wild tree?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it smells.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Unlike any other oud that I've ever produced.
It's something, yeah, it's very nice.
And that's Vietnamese oud that we were talking about. It's like it has that richness.
So, Kinam Rouge is Vietnamese wild oud?
Vietnamese, yeah.
Okay. So
you can smell
that's
the
going to be pricey.
Vietnamese Chiara. So we were talking about perfumery and what ouds would be the best to use in artisanal perfume. And I think I have just the oud that every artisanal perfumer should not be without. Personally, I say this from my own experience, it's one of the key ingredients to my EO.No.1, and it is that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's another one that a very unique profile that I've not smelled yet. Like, that's very interesting.
For someone who's out to accomplish the kind of concepts that we talked about, this smell of burning incense.
I was gonna say, it reminds me a little bit of incense ash. Like, it has a burny ashiness to it, but in a really interesting way.
It's like the actual chip, if you put it on a very high heat, like charcoal directly, with no microplates, nothing. It'll bubble and turn, even as the burn is about to end, when the resin has all smoldered and it's now just like towards the second half of the burn, you get that kind of profile from it.
It definitely does have that kind of charred woodiness.
Burnt incense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very nice though. That's God, that would make a great perfume.
I mean, it already has. I mean, the EO.No.1 would not exist without that.
I do really like that a lot. Yeah. It's so thick as well. Yeah, wow. I would wear that on its own.
It smells peppery to me. Do you get like a peppery, like a...
I do see what you mean. I get kind of an ashy burned charredness, a darkness, an ever so slight sweetness, and yeah, a little bit. I see what you mean with the pepperiness, like almost like black pepper, almost.
Yeah.
It's interesting. That's a very unique profile of that stands out to me as being more interesting and different to the other oils in terms of that character. I've never smelled one that smells like burning kind of spiced incense.
It was very interesting to read what Kafkaesque had to say about this. It was like the comparison that was drawn is like, this is what reminds them of Ernest Hemingway. He used to go on these safaris in Africa, and leather and cigars and shooting and so forth, and the gunpowder smoke and the safari and the whole experience of like Ernest Hemingway with old books and leather saddles and all this, and I really like that comparison.
You could make a fragrance with that. A little bit of castoreum,
yeah,
some spices, saffron.
Yeah, there you are.
Wow, I love that one. It's very it's complex and dark and just very interesting.
Can you believe it's the cheapest oud that I sell?
Really?
Yes.
I would have said that was expensive. I guess it smells expensive.
The most affordable oud oil that I've ever sold.
Really?
Yes.
More competitive like Yusuf?
Even cheaper.
Wow.
Yeah, Yusuf is like $250 for 3 grams. This is $165.
Do you have a lot of it?
With me, I have only this much.
Do you have a good amount?
In Jordan, I do, yes.
I will probably buy some of that.
Be my guest.
That's,
Be my guest.
I can see myself enjoying that one. That's really good. That's very... It almost smells like the colour. Like the colour is like almost like honey tar, like it's dark, it's almost black but golden hue. Let's show that to the camera. You can see the colour. That's amazing. Very rich. Yeah, no, I really like that one. That's very unique. I think I'll be purchasing some.
Okay. Be my guest. I would love to see what you create with it. I mean, it's
That's interesting.
it's one thing I really enjoy is to see what people can make with my oils.
Well, these have interesting names. Borneo Zen, Thai Tobacco.
These are all perfumes.
Oh, those are finished blends?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Antars.
I'd love to smell those as well
Sure,
later.
of course.
What's this one?
So this is the this is another Ori scent. This is Borneo Diesel. I have to make sure that that doesn't drip. You can smell that.
I really like that one as well.
Yeah.
Again, it reminds me a little bit of Midori Key.
Mm-hmm.
The same kind of honey darkness.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I think this is a lot more powdery and ethereal than Midori. Like Midori is more like a deep bass note.
Mm.
I'd say this is more like a heart note kind of oil.
I can see that, yeah. That's gorgeous though.
Oh yeah.
Another one that you would be like just amazing to wear on its own, just a little dab and smell like that through the day would be...
Again, you're welcome to try all of these, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Before I go, I'm going to steal some swipes. So, that one is gorgeous, yeah.
So there's that, and then I have the Chiara LTD Privé and White Kinam. Let's see what you make of these. I think it's better from here.
This one's very smooth again. This one has a hint of a sweetness too, to me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I struggle sometimes to describe in words the
This one
nuances of them.
You really would need to try on the skin.
Mm.
This is like the apex of Agarwood. It's like the embodiment of this profile that we're heating here in an oil. Chiara LTD is
So would you describe that more having the kind of the slightly bitter kind of green kind of element to that?
very bitter, very medicinal, very sharp, pungent.
I don't find it particularly too sharp though. Like it still has a mellowness to it. It's not piercing. It is.
You can try the bottle, see what you make of that. Because the aroma that's in the cap will be slightly lighter.
Yeah, that one is a little bit more.
Very pungent.
Yeah. Still very rich. Almost indescribable in words to me. Like I don't think talking about them can express the smell.
No.
That's the frustrating thing, like trying to review them and talk about them. It's very difficult to say this smells a certain way because people can't feel it, and it's the feeling that it's more of a. Do you know what I mean by that? It's very difficult to, because when I review a perfume, I try make a picture in someone's mind of what it smells like. With this and with oud,
it's beyond words.
It's something that you have to smell and feel.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to actually help people understand what it is that it comes across because they're not feeling it. That one smells expensive.
They're all expensive.
No, but I know, but this smells
this one
like
is, like way up there. Yeah.
This one has again a little bit more of a medicinal. I feel like this one is a little bit sharper than the last one and more medicinal to me. I completely get that kind of aroma. But again, it's interesting. I don't know how to. How would you describe that? Because that's quite complicated too.
I mean, it's like powdery, musky, white, Kinam. Those are the 4 words I would use.
I definitely, when you said powdery, I was like, yeah, that's a good description. That's beautiful.
This is white Kinam.
I like that a lot. Do we end up on like a couple of your perfumes?
Sure.
That would be great.
Why not?
Borneo's in, Thai Tobacco.
Of course. So Thai Tobacco, this is actually an attar that I made.
This, again, like EO.No.1, EO No.2, that I feel like you do a really good job of harmony. Like, it doesn't feel like anything's fighting to be shown, like it's... I definitely get a mix of florals.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, this is hard to describe.
Juniper.
Juniper?
Yeah.
Ah. Okay. Yeah. There's like a cooling green kind of...
Yeah, that's the juniper.
Mm.
You have a tiny bit of lavender.
Okay, yeah. I like that. It's it smells wild, like a more foresty, like a walk through the forest. Like it has that kind of nature green.
Exercises in perfumery that I executed before moving on to make these very, complex sprays.
Mm.
And I think that making sprays is a very, 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 very different process to making an attar. So something that works very well as an attar, some people think you just take alcohol and then you dilute it and then there's your EDP, but it's really not like that.
Mm.
It's very, very different. To make an attar is difficult. I mean, to make a spray out of an attar, it's not as simple as just cutting it and then diluting it and then off you go and you spray it. People will complain about projection.
Yeah.
They will complain about sillage. They will complain about longevity. Because when you wear it as an attar, you're wearing it at 100% concentration. Mm-hmm. Now you cut that down to 15% to make an EDP, and it's like, well, where did the smell go? There's no more smell. So it's quite difficult to make a successful spray. I mean,
Challenge.
literally, it's very challenging. So Borneo Zen, for example, which works brilliantly as an attar. This is not Borneo Zen, this is the Sultan musk attar. I'll let you smell that as well.
Whew, I love that one. That's very nice.
That's EO.No.2 in attar format.
I would say this version to me just has a hint of a more of an unusual sweetness about it. I don't
This one, this is the new one. It's the second Sultan musk attar. And I just went overboard with the musk, this one. It's like there is no other thing in there that will get in the musk's way. I just like the amount of tincture and musk infusion into sandalwood that I put in. It's like an overdose.
It's gorgeous. I really like that.
Well, thank you.
That's yeah. It's beautiful, honestly. Yeah. I don't know how to describe it other than beautiful.
Thank you very much.
It's,
So this is the leather attar. You probably tried that, but this is the new one.
okay.
So you can give that a go.
This one is very beautiful too. You get the rose straight away. Very smooth. It's deep as well. It's got you can smell the layers and the richness to it.
I would say it's a bit more diffusive and a bit more lemony than the original.
Okay. I think this again is like even non-perfume lovers, so to speak, someone that doesn't appreciate like the high quality stuff, like anyone in the world would smell that and I would think that they would think that smells great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has that kind of universal kind of beauty to it that doesn't I think most people in the world would appreciate it. That smells great.
This is Borneo Zen. Again, I have to make sure that the oil doesn't drip.
There's something in it that reminds me a little bit. I don't want to almost say it because it sounds stupid, but the texture of it reminds me of Play-Doh.
Play-Doh.
I don't know if you understand what I mean when I say that, and I don't particularly mean the smell, but the feeling of it feels soft and squishy, and I see things in texture. It's very weird to describe it, but if it was a texture, it would be palpable and movable, like Play-Doh.
Pliable. You know,
Yeah. It has a softness to it, slightly sweet. I don't know, how would you describe that yourself?
To me, it's like very floral.
Yeah.
It's like the most elegant floral that I've put together in my blending ventures. People have, many people have had nice things to say about Borneo Zen, and it has its own like loyal kind of a following. People that are just into Borneo Zen and that's it. But the secret to Borneo Zen is the musk infused in sandalwood, and this very special Papuan oud that is in there. It's this green. I think if you smelt it, you would say, "No, I need to use that in a perfume." Unfortunately, it's being used in Borneo Zen. That's why I haven't released it. But if you can track it down, I mean, there's these collectors that resell their oils periodically in on eBay or something. It's called the Irian Emerald. Or then we switched it to Oud Emerald, just to make it more easy for people to understand. It's the same oil. And it's this green, again, petrichor, jungle, leafiness, and this plushness of being in the forest. Quite nice.
Yeah.
And that lends the pliableness that you picked up, I think.
I think we'll have to wrap it up there, everyone, because I've been 2 hours now, and Ensar has other appointments to make. But I just want to thank you for allowing me to smell your amazing oils and sharing your knowledge with me and my audience.
Of course. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thanks for coming, and I wish you all the best in your endeavors as a perfumer.
It's been a real
See
pleasure.
you again. Likewise.
Cheers.
Likewise. Cheers.
Goodbye, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.